Now will the Senate please come to order? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino. Senator Awa.
Here.
Senator Chang. Senator DeCoit. Senator Dela Cruz. Senator Elefante.
Here.
Senator Favela. Senator Fukunaga. Senator Gabbard. Senator Ihara. Senator Inoue.
Present.
Senator Kanuha. Senator Keith Agaran. Senator Keoho Kalole. Senator Kidani. Senator Kim. Senator Lee. Senator McKelvey.
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki. Senator Rhodes. Senator Richards. Senator San Buenaventura. Senator Shimabukuro. Senator Wakai. Mr. President.
Present.
All 25 members are present.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions this morning? If not, Madam Clerk.
On pages 1 through 9, departmental communication numbers 379 to 433, transmit reports.
File.
On pages 9 and 10, House Communication number 898 informs the Senate that the House has agreed to the amendments made by the Senate to various House concurrent resolutions and that said resolutions were adopted. On pages 11 and 12, House Communication number 899 informs the Senate that the House agreed to the amendments made by the Senate to various House bills and that said bills passed final reading in the House. And on pages 12 through 28, House Communication number 900 informs the Senate that the House passed various bills on final reading.
File.
On page 29, Judiciary Communication numbers 25 to 27 transmit reports.
File.
Also on page 29, final reading of the state budget.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking final reading on consent.
Conference Committee Report number 190, final reading of House Bill 300, Conference Draft 1 relating to the state budget.
Is there any discussion? Senator Dela Cruz,
Thank you, Mr. President. In support.
please proceed.
Over the last 4 months, the Senate Ways and Means Committee worked diligently with Senate leadership and Senate members, the governor and the executive branch leaders, constituents, stakeholders, and House Finance to deliver a state budget bill that answers the call to address a myriad of persistent and challenging issues for the state. With projected state revenues of $10.35 billion in fiscal year 24 and $2.2 billion in carryover from fiscal year 23, and projected state revenues of $10.73 billion in fiscal year 25, and $500 million in carryover from fiscal year 24, the conference draft of House Bill 300 appropriates in general funds for fiscal year 24, $11.3 billion, for fiscal year 25, $10.4 billion, and in all means of financing, fiscal year 24 is $19.6 billion, and fiscal year 25, $18.7 billion. There were key Senate priorities that did not make it out of conference, such as broader tax relief to help the middle class, cost of living increases for the nonprofit sector, providing critical programs and services for the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Agriculture's The Bucks program, cesspool conversion resources to assist hundreds of DHHL homesteaders, residents in most of our rural areas, and protection of our islands' water resources, various K-12 education initiatives, the Banyan Drive Master Plan, and lastly, significant funding increases for senior housing and middle-income family rental supplement payments. These vital programs, services, and resources remained important Senate priorities, and they reinforced our resolve and commitment to the work ahead. I encourage you to compare the Senate draft and the conference draft to see the various Senate ads and funding measures we were unable to get House agreement on, resulting in the $500 million carryover left on the table. There were, however, many points of agreement in the CD prioritized for the biennium to serve our great state. They include, but are not limited to, homeless and housing programs and services, additional funds to be deposited into the Rainy Day Fund, early childhood classrooms and the expansion of preschool open doors program for 3-year-olds, critical state infrastructure repairs and maintenance and replacements, climate change mitigation and abatement programs, health and wellness programs and services across the state, promotion and perpetuation of arts and culture, including funding for Iolani Palace and Bishop Museum, pay differentials and loan forgiveness for hard-to-recruit and retain state positions and in-demand industries such as education and healthcare workers, IT system modernizations for numerous state departments to replace outdated systems and aging equipment and infrastructure, increase agricultural biosecurity and funding for agricultural development, the state match for broadband implementation, additional funds for increased electricity and security costs for various state departments, funding for K-12 career technical education, distance learning, special education, after-school care, summer learning, digital literacy, mental and behavioral health supports, land conservation, acquisition, watershed and ecosystems protection and restoration, funding for Kirk and the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, positions, funds, and salaries, equipment for the newly established Department of Law Enforcement, funding to support new housing units for various community correctional centers across the state, 24-hour health care at correctional facilities on the neighbor islands and Oahu, and expansion of the community work furlough program from Oahu to statewide. Also including routine maintenance and repairs for the Department of Transportation airports, harbors, and highways, and traffic control on Oahu, and the restoration of University of Hawaii funds reduced during the COVID, Manoa, and Hilo athletics, promised program funding for community colleges, and non-credit workforce development and early college programs. In conclusion, I'd like to thank the House Finance Chair, Kau Yamashita, and the Vice Chair, Lisa Kitagawa, and from the Senate, yourself, Mr. President, and the Vice Chair of Ways and Means and his team for putting together the CIP budget. I'd also like to thank the subject matter chairs and the members of Ways and Means and the finance committees. And lastly, thank you to the Ways and Means budget staff for their commitment, diligent, and extended hours they put in to help shape the conference draft, Committee Clerk Chung Chang, Budget Chief Stacy Ferreira, Budget Analyst Colin, Parker, Shirley, and Alex, Kathy and Ford, Legislative Assistants David and Makoa, and our Office Manager Dot. Also assisting our budget team from the Bills section is Bills Chief Duncan Osorio, researchers Cody, Malcolm, and Nathaniel, and legislative aides Mary and Carrie. Mr. President, I'd also like to add written remarks in support of House Bill 300 CD1. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion. Senator Keith Agaran.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also in support, I echo the words of the Ways and Means Chair. What's reflected in the budget is the priorities of this body, but also I think for the communities that we represent. I'd like to thank the Ways and Means Chair for all the coordination that he provided to make sure that we could find the funding for your priorities and the priorities that you identified from your communities. I also would like to express my thanks to my counterpart in the House, Representative Scott Nishimoto, who did a yeoman's job in his first year as their CIP negotiator. I think that we come out with a product I believe that all of us can bring back to our communities to tell them that we were listening to what they said they needed. Finally, I would like to thank the Ways and Means staff for all the help that they provided to us, and especially to my own staff, especially Robert Nishimoto, who was our CIP specialist, and Danielle Evangelista, who in the negotiations worked with us in working not just on the CIP itself, but also on the grant and aids, making sure that we reviewed all the grant and aid applications very carefully. I know that on the CIP side, there were at least 117 applications asking for approximately $124 million when we had about $20 million to distribute. With that, Mr. President, I also would have some written remarks I would like to enter into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion. Senator San Buenaventura.
I also stand in support.
Please proceed.
And I'd just like to point out that although key Senate bills, behavioral health bills did not pass, it did make it into the budget. And for that, I thank the Ways and Means Committee and the Ways and Means Chair. And I just want to point out over $73 million specifically for crisis intervention, behavioral health services was in the budget, and we intend to hold Department of Health accountable for their use. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Favela.
Thank you, Senate President. Also stand in support.
Please proceed.
You know, I've been here only about 5 years, and every year I've been here, I'm very impressed on our WAM chair and vice chair, Keith Egeron and Senator De La Cruz, Senator Keith Egeron, on their leadership and how they balance and move the budget with CIPs and grants, and especially try to balance the budget when we're having our WAM hearings. It's always difficult, and everybody always thinks they're on the hot seat. But one thing that I know about the WAM chair since I've been here, he always been consistent. And every question that he asks, the passion that he asks it, and he teaches us, and we get to learn how to go with the process. Sometimes it's not easy with the directors and the different divisions that come before us. But at the end of the day, he just wants the best for our communities and our state of Hawaii. I want to thank you, Senate President and Senate Vice President, President Okochi, Senate President, Vice President Michelle Kadani, for your guys' leadership and always encouraging us to do the best we can in this building. But again, my hat goes off to the WAM chair and vice chair and their staff, because what they do, I mean, I don't know how they do it every year. This year was the most difficult year that I had been a part of the process, and a process that was not very easy, but it was accomplished. And I just thank them very much on the sleepless nights and the overnights that they had to be here to do good for all of us in this chamber and in the state of Hawaii. Thank you, Senate President.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, I'd briefly say, with the exchange of text messages, the WAM staff was here till 1:40 Saturday morning, working through the midnight deadline on Friday to get the budget details put together and returned by 9 a.m. to hand deliver it to House Finance. So to the WAM chair, vice chair, and the staff who put in incredible hours and produced a really fantastic document, I want to extend my personal thanks as well. Do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. House Bill 300, CD1, passes final reading.
Mr. President,
Senator De La Cruz.
if I may be permitted a late introduction, I just wanted to acknowledge the WAM staff. If you could just stand and be recognized. Thank you. And I'm not sure here if they're here either, but the vice chair staff, if you're not here, you can just stand wherever you are, and we'll clap for you too.
Thank you. Madam Clerk,
On pages 29 to 33, advise and consent.
if there are no objections from the members, we will take advice and consent on consent.
Standing Committee Report Number 2018 to 2025 on Governor's Messages for adoption.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. The nominees for the respective governor's messages have been confirmed.
On page 33, Standing Committee Report Number 2026 on Governor's Message Number 513, Brenna Hashimoto, gubernatorial nominee as the Director of the Department of Human Resources Development for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Moriwaki.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in strong support of Governor's Message 513,
Please
Brenna
proceed.
Hashimoto. Your Committee on Labor and Technology reviewed Brenna's background and her past and current performance and find that she is eminently qualified to lead the department and state government to meet our human resources challenges. Ms. Hashimoto served over 30 years in state government, specializing in nearly every aspect of human resources, 11 years in the Department of Health, 13 years at the University of Hawaii, and more recently, 7 years in the Human Services Department, managing recruitment, classification, employee benefits, training, records management, labor relations, and civil rights compliance. She also served in the employers' bargaining unit 9 and 10 negotiating teams and chaired the state's Human Resources Council. Since her appointment in December, Brenna has provided a vision for the department, modernization, efficiencies, and accountability. Knowing that filling the state's over 4,000 vacancies is the biggest challenge, she has already begun working with her managers on modernization initiatives. She's creating teams to assist departments in filling the most needed vacant positions. She also began training managers and employees on the new telework policy that we are so want to emphasize for our employees as incentives. And she already began working on conducting a job fair, which we already saw, to encourage recruitment and engage department human resource officers of each of the departments to regularly meet so that she can share information and plans. Appearing before our committee, she demonstrated her grasp of personnel laws and policies as she provided accurate and detailed responses to our questions. Those who worked directly with Brenna spoke of her extensive knowledge and distinguished track record of providing creative and practical solutions to human resources issues. Others spoke of her proactive leadership and interpersonal skills. This department's senior management team said this: from the moment she started on December 5th, Brenna's transition was seamless thanks to her familiarity with many of the department's programs and functions. Many of us have also worked with Brenna over the years, and we know she is dedicated, hardworking, and responsive, and her approach to human resources matters is inspired by her creativity and innovation. I believe Brenna Hashimoto is the best person to lead the state in recruiting and retaining the best and brightest employees to serve Hawaii. I urge my colleagues to advise and consent to Brenna Hashimoto as the Director of the Department of Human Resources Development.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. Brenna Hashimoto has been confirmed as the Director of the Department of Human Resources Development. Senator Moriwaki.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I present the newly confirmed Department of Human Resources Development Director, Brenna Hashimoto. With Ms. Hashimoto is her husband, John. And I see her trusty Deputy Director, Ryan Yamani. And I think many of her staff are here, so may you all stand and be recognized as well. Mr. President, at the appropriate time, may we have Brenna come to the floor for photos. Thank you.
And for Chair Rhodes, who's going to do the next one, after we take up that advice and consent, we have a few resolutions we'll quickly dispense with and then recess to greet our honored guests. Madam Clerk?
Standing Committee Report number 2027 on Governor's Message number 675, Kimberly Tsumoto Gidry, gubernatorial appointee to the Intermediate Court of Appeals, for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Rhodes,
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Governor's Message number 675.
please proceed.
The appointment of Kimberly Gidry provides the Senate with a unique opportunity. First, we have the option to confirm to the Intermediate Court of Appeals an appellate specialist with 20 years of state court experience working for the state's largest law firm, the Department of the Attorney General. Second, her confirmation will fulfill the goal of the legislature in passing Act 90 last session to expand the Intermediate Court of Appeals to a total of 7 judges comprised of 6 associate judges and 1 chief judge. Ms. Gidry is a proud product of Hawaii's public education system, having graduated from Kalani High School with honors, the University of Hawaii at Manoa undergraduate history program with highest honors, and the William S. Richardson School of Law. She has been licensed to practice law in the state since 2002 and has worked exclusively at the Department of the Attorney General. Ms. Guidry currently serves as Solicitor General and Supervising Deputy Attorney of the Appellate Division, where she oversees most state and federal appeals and appears and argues in civil and criminal cases before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Hawaii Supreme Court, and the Hawaii Intermediate Court of Appeals. Her work at the department has been recognized individually and as a member of a team, including the 2021 Attorney General's Team of the Year Award and the 2015 Department of the Attorney General's Employee of the Year Award. Ms. Guidry also serves on the Department of the Attorney General's Appeal and Opinions Review Committee and the Judiciary Committee, and the Judiciary's Hawaii Rules of Appellate Procedure Standing Committee, and as a bar examiner for the Hawaii State Board of Bar Examiners. After having reviewed the testimony, which was overwhelmingly in support of her confirmation, and other materials submitted to the committee, and having examined the appointee in a hearing, your Judiciary Committee finds that Kimberly Sumoto Guidry is qualified to serve as an Associate Judge on the Intermediate Court of Appeals and recommends that the Senate consent to the appointment. Mahalo.
Senator Rhodes, I have a quick question for you if you'd remain standing. I know from everything you read, she was selected and your recommendation is solely based on her qualifications. But if you could enlighten the gallery, she is gender-wise significant in her confirmation today as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I was going to bring that up later,
Oh,
but
okay,
I'm happy to do it now. I would like to share the following update about the composition of our state court. I announced after the recent confirmation of Maui Circuit Court Judge Michelle Drewer that the overall composition of our state court judges and justices was equally split between males and females, and that the confirmation of Ms. Guidry to the ICA would reach a milestone with a greater number of female judges and justices in Hawaii's courts. I'm sorry, Ms. Guidry. I'm sorry, Ms. Guidry. It slipped my mind that Judge Nakayama was about to retire. So with Judge Guidry's confirmation today, we are back to a 50-50 split. But this does keep Hawaii as one of the leaders in judicial gender equality in the United States and really all around the world. Mahalo.
Thank you. You are right, it would have been nice to confirm her first. Do we have any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. Kimberly Sumoto Guidry has been confirmed as Associate Judge of the Intermediate Court of Appeals. Senator Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to introduce our newest ICA Associate Judge, Kimberly Guidry. I have a fairly long list of people who are with her, so if we could hold our applause until the end. Joining Judge Guidry in the gallery are the following. Please stand and be recognized. Her husband, Michael, and their children, Dell and Tess. Her parents, Stan and Ruth Tsumoto, and her sister, Courtney Tsumoto. Her colleagues from the Department of the Attorney General. And let's see, Rod Miley, the Administrator of the Courts, Attorney General Ann Lopez, and from my office, Jessica Faig, Dave Nagaji, Sky Chun Matsukawa, and Audrey Stalkup. That's it. Congratulations.
Again, we'll dispense with a few resolutions quickly and then call for a recess. Madam Clerk?
At the bottom of page 33, adoption of resolutions, Standing Committee Report number 2028 on Senate Resolution 138, Senate Draft 1 for adoption.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 2028.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Discussion, Senator Favela.
Thank you, Senate President. I stand in support, strong
Please
support.
proceed.
Law gun range has been in my community for over 100 years. During the live fire training, 100 years ago, Ever Beach was a plantation area and not as densely populated community like it is now. I have received numerous complaints of the noise and the noise pollution and the risk of being hit accidentally strays of bullets And the environment study shows the lead contamination more than 70 times the legal limit. Although I support the training of military to protect us, but I cannot support when it jeopardizes the quality of life and harming my community, that they cannot rest and they cannot have peace of mind and not worrying about getting hurt. There are other locations sustainable in this state for training, such as Kaneohe Marine Base. Pulua Range has outlived its place in its growing community like Eva Beach. I ask my colleagues to join me in supporting this resolution to urge the relocation of the live fire and aviation away from my community. Mahalo and God bless.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the spirit of bipartisan and cross-island support, I'd like to stand in support of the reso and adopt the words of the previous speakers if they were my own. Thank
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. The motion is carried. Said resolution has been adopted.
On page 34, final adoption of resolutions. Senate Concurrent Resolution 17, House Draft 1, 18, House Draft 1, 55, House Draft 1, and 92, House Draft 1 for adoption.
Senator Wakai,
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of said Senate concurrent resolutions.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. Said resolutions have been adopted. If there are no objections from the members, we will now recess, and if the sergeants could escort both Judge Guidry and Director Hashimoto to the floor. Will the Senate please come back into order, Madam Clerk?
Beginning on page 35, deferred matters, final reading.
If there are no objections from the members, we'll be taking final reading on consent.
Conference Committee Report 74, final reading of House Bill 660, Conference Draft 1, relating to the issuance of special purpose revenue bonds for not-for-profit corporations that provide health care facilities to the general public.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no vote? Reservations for no vote for Senator Awa?
24 ayes.
Thank you. HB 660 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 77, final reading of House Bill 992, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Affordable Home Ownership Revolving Fund.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 992 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 80, final reading of House Bill 1000, Conference Draft 1, relating to public employment cost items.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1000 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report 81, final reading of House Bill 1001, Conference Draft 1, relating to public employment cost items.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1001 CD1 passes final reading.
Page 36, Conference Committee Report number 82, final reading of House Bill 1004, Conference Draft 1, relating to public employment cost items.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1004 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 83, final reading of House Bill 1006, Conference Draft 1, relating to public employment cost items.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1006 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 84, final reading of House Bill 1010, Conference Draft 1, relating to public employment cost items.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1010, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 93, final reading of House Bill 278, Conference Draft 1, relating to health.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 278, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 94, final reading of House Bill 1255, Conference Draft 1, relating to special purpose revenue bonds.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1255, CD1 passes final reading.
On page 37, Conference Committee Report Number 95, final reading of House Bill 451, Conference Draft 1, relating to incarcerated individuals.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 451, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 107, final reading of House Bill 848, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii Institute for Marine Biology.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 848, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 109, final reading of House Bill 1200, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Conservation and Resources Enforcement Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 1200, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 116, final reading of House Bill 306, Conference Draft 1, relating to ornamental ginger.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa. Was there a reservation? Senator Fukunaga, or are you just lifting up your pen? Senator, did you raise for lifting your pen? 1 no vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 306, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 118, final reading of House Bill 133, Conference Draft 1, relating to the budget of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 133, CD1 passes final reading.
On page 38, Conference Committee Report Number 119, final reading of House Bill 1113, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Drug and Alcohol Toxicology Testing Laboratory.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1113, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 120, final reading of House Bill 960, Conference Draft 1, relating to the School Facilities Authority.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 960, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 126, final reading of Senate Bill 894, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Office of Wellness and Resilience.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 894, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 131, final reading of House Bill 948, Conference Draft 1, relating to child and adolescent mental health.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 948, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 133, final reading of House Bill 968, Conference Draft 1, relating to the University of Hawaii.
Is there any discussion? Senator Aquino.
Written comments in support, please.
Please, please proceed. So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 968, CD1 passes final reading.
On page 39, Conference Committee Report 134, final reading of House Bill 68, Conference Draft 1, relating to criminal justice.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 68, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 136, final reading of House Bill 999, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 999 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 139, third final reading of House Bill 1369, Conference Draft 1, relating to nursing facilities.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1369 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 140, final reading of House Bill 953, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Department of Land and Natural Resources.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 953 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 40, Conference Committee Report Number 142, final reading of House Bill 677, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Dwelling Unit Revolving Fund.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 677 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 144, final reading of House Bill 1397, Conference Draft 1, relating to supportive housing.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1397 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 146, final reading of House Bill 964, Conference Draft 1, relating to the certification of documents.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 964 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 149, final reading of House Bill 353, Conference Draft 1, relating to healthcare education.
Is there any discussion? If
Mr.
not,
President?
Senator Keith Agaran.
Yeah, written remarks in support to be inserted into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 353 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 151, final reading of Senate Bill 588, Conference Draft 1, relating to excessive noise.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Favela. Is that a no vote, Senator Keoho Kalole?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 588 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 41, Conference Committee Report Number 152, final reading of Senate Bill 814, Conference Draft 1, relating to electronic information technology accessibility for persons with limited English proficiency.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any no votes? Any reservations?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 814 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 155, final reading of House Bill 1382, Conference Draft 1, relating to meat donation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1382
I'm sorry.
CD1 passes final reading. Oh, one no vote for Senator Rhodes. Sorry, Madam Clerk.
24 ayes, 1 no.
HB 1382 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 156, final reading of House Bill 1359, Conference Draft 1, relating to hemp.
Is there any discussion? Senator Gabbard.
Mr. President, I have some remarks I'd like to enter the journal in support.
So ordered. Any further discussion? If not, Senator DeCoit.
Mr. President, reservations, permission to insert comments to the journal.
So ordered. Senator McKelvey.
Same request on both.
So ordered. Further discussion? Do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators McKelvey, Inouye, DeCoit. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1359 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 159, final reading of Senate Bill 1076, Conference Draft 1, relating to elections.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Senator Keith Agaran.
written remarks in support for the journal, please.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 106 CD1 passes final reading. Sorry, that was Senate Bill 1076 CD1 passes final reading.
Thank you. On page 42, Conference Committee Report Number 161, final reading of Senate Bill 1163, Conference Draft 1, relating to Civil Air Patrol.
Is there any discussion? Senator Keith Agaran?
Yes, written remarks and support for the journal, please.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1163 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 162, final reading of Senate Bill 1527, Conference Draft 1, relating to address confidentiality.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awar.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 1527 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 163, final reading of Senate Bill 821, Conference Draft 1, relating to fireworks.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awar.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 821 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 164, final reading of Senate Bill 941, Conference Draft 1, relating to the School Facilities Authority.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 941 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 166, final reading of Senate Bill 1586, Conference Draft 1, relating to the University of Hawai'i College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1586 CD1 passes final reading.
Beginning on page 43, final reading. Final reading of House Bill 1386, Conference Draft 2, relating to homelessness.
1366.
I'm sorry, 1366.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Kim.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 1366 CD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of House Bill 870, Conference Draft 2, relating to the Neighbor Islands Blind and Visually Impaired Service Pilot Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 870 CD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of House Bill 676, Conference Draft 2, relating to district boundary amendments.
If there are no objections from the members, we are going to recommit HB 676 CD2. Hearing no objections, so ordered. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Final reading of House Bill 600, Conference Draft 2, relating to safe routes to school.
Is there any discussion? Senator McKelvey,
Thank you, Mr. President. In support
please proceed.
and permission to enter written comments into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 600 CD2 passes final reading.
On page 44, final reading of House Bill 554, Conference Draft 2, relating to campus safety.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 554 CD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 945, Conference Draft 2, relating to special purpose digital currency licensure.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senator Awa and McKelvey.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 945 CD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of House Bill 933, Conference Draft 2, relating to telecommunications access for individuals with print disabilities.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 933, CD2 passes final reading.
Final reading of Senate Bill 1268, House Draft 2, relating to agricultural lands.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1268 HD2 passes final reading.
Page 45, Conference Committee Report Number 172, final reading of Senate Bill 295, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Child Welfare Services.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 295 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 173, final reading of Senate Bill 1592, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Senior Medicare Patrol Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1592 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 174, final reading of Senate Bill 67, Conference Draft 1, relating to commercial activities on beaches.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 67 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 175, final reading of Senate Bill 1370, Conference Draft 1, relating to licenses to solemnize marriages.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1370 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 176, final reading of Senate Bill 404, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Hospital Sustainability Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 404 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 46, Conference Committee Report Number 177, final reading of Senate Bill 1534, Conference Draft 1, relating to transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 1534 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 178, final reading of Senate Bill 900, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii State Health Insurance Assistance Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 900 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 179, is final reading of Senate Bill 674, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact.
Is there any discussion? Senator Keith
In
Agaran.
support, and I would request written remarks to be inserted in the journal.
So ordered. Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 674 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 180, final reading of Senate Bill 865, Conference Draft 1, relating to housing.
Is there any discussion? Senator Chang.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have written remarks in support inserted into the journal?
Certainly you may. Further discussion? Long time coming, Senator Chang. Do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 865 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 47, Conference Committee Report Number 181, final reading of Senate Bill 1064, Conference Draft 1, relating to dam and appurtenance safety.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you, Mr.
Senator Keith
President.
Agaran.
In support, this is a good bill. I would like to insert some written remarks in support of it.
So ordered. Further discussion, Senator McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. President. In support as well. Would like
Please
to thank
proceed.
the author of the measure and would like also additional written comments into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion. If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1064 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 182, final reading of Senate Bill 813, Conference Draft 1, relating to court interpreters.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 813 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 183, final reading of Senate Bill 898, Conference Draft 1, relating to Kupuna housing.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 898 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 184, final reading of Senate Bill 1141, Conference Draft 1, relating to workers' compensation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1141 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 185, final reading of Senate Bill 830, Conference Draft 1, relating to emergency medical response.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 830 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 48, Conference Committee Report Number 186, final reading of Senate Bill 1417, Conference Draft 1, relating to climate change.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 1417 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 187, final reading of Senate Bill 1588, Conference Draft 1, relating to food safety.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1588 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 188, final reading of Senate Bill 1552, Conference Draft 1, relating to invasive species.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1552 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 189, final reading of Senate Bill 743, Conference Draft 1, relating to coffee pest control.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 743 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 191, final reading of House Bill 33, Conference Draft 1, relating to state bonds.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 33 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 49, Conference Committee Report Number 192, final reading of House Bill 28, Conference Draft 1, relating to state programs.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Elefante? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 28 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 193, final reading of House Bill 1018, Conference Draft 1, relating to state funds.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1018 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 194, final reading of House Bill 1020, Conference Draft 1, relating to payment of claims of the Unclaimed Property Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
25
Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1020 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 195, final reading of House Bill 1022, Conference Draft 1, relating to funding adjustments for state programs.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1022 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 196, final reading of Senate Bill 975, Conference Draft 1, relating to health.
Is there any discussion? Senator Rhodes,
Thank you, Mr. President. In support.
please proceed.
This is an important bill in our battle against vaping and e-cigarette use. It will eventually save us many lives because of the people that will divert from using tobacco. It's too bad that former Senator Baker isn't here today to see this. I believe that she introduced this bill 8 years in a row, and she retired last year, of course, and this is the 9th year and it's passed. So this one's for you, Roz. Mahalo.
Thank you for that, Senator Rhodes. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 975 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 50, Conference Committee Report Number 197, final reading of Senate Bill 239, Conference Draft 1, relating to early learning accreditation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 239 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 198, final reading of Senate Bill 833, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Wahiawa Irrigation System.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 833 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 199, final reading of Senate Bill 318, Conference Draft 1, relating to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders.
Is there any discussion? Senator San Buenaventura.
In support.
Please proceed.
I'd just like to point out, most people do not quite understand about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. This pilot program will show that a number of the childhood diseases, a number of the mental health illnesses of our children will be traced back to fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So this is a huge step towards treating mental illness. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 318 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 200, final reading of Senate Bill 435, Conference Draft 1, relating to public works.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 435 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 201, final reading of Senate Bill 1277, Conference Draft 1, making appropriations for claims against the state, its officers, or its employees.
Is there any discussion? Senator Keith
Yeah,
Agaran.
Mr. President, I would ask to be excused or recused from voting on this bill because I have a conflict. One of the claimants is represented by my law firm.
Since there is a potential direct financial gain to the law firm that you work at, your conflict is noted and you are marked excused on this vote. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator McKelvey.
23 ayes, 1 no, and 1 excused.
Thank you. SB 1277 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 51, Conference Committee Report Number 202, final reading of House Bill 382, Conference Draft 1, relating to the judiciary.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 382 CD1 passes final reading.
Miscellaneous business, usual and customary resolutions, Senate Resolution Numbers 222 and 223 for adoption.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of Senate Resolutions Numbers 222 and 223.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. Said resolutions have been adopted.
We have no further business, Mr. President.
Are there any further announcements? Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege. Last year, I spoke about how well we did in passing laws to protect our children, and I just want our colleagues to realize how much we have done to end this session with. I mean, we have realized, and despite the veto of the governor, we have passed the Malama Ohana Working Group. We increased the pay differentials for social workers. We fulfilled our promises of last sessions to protect our children, and we continue to do more. In the Health Committee, we passed landmark Senate bills. SB 1, reproductive rights. SB 975, taxation of vape products. Hopefully we could end the kind of vaping that our children are being exposed to. And even the last minute, SB 674, Physician Interstate Compact, because believe me, Queens, Kaiser, the military, all of these people who are having trouble filling physician vacancies in the state have told me that this innocuous bill is a game changer. And I want to thank our money committees of putting over $100 million in our behavioral health. But I want my colleagues to understand that we have a lot more to do, because yesterday was the 5th anniversary of the beginning of the 2018 lava flow disaster that did not officially end until 7 months later. Over 700 homes were destroyed, but in reality, over 1839 structures were severely damaged, including the Jagger Museum at the precipice of the Kilauea caldera. I remember how hopeless and helpless I felt when my community looked to me for answers that I did not have. How was I supposed to stop the turtles from being boiled alive? There were many of them. We didn't understand that. And how the passage of the then landmark Ohana Zones bill that we had previously passed at CNDA on 2018 was going to be the lifeline I was hoping for, but the governor held it up. And Pohiki, which is still not available to our fishing industry. Thankfully, the Ohana Zones bill is being realized to its potential. The lessons learned was that if we give the tools to the community will pull together. Grants from the Hawaii Community Foundation, United Way, and others helped build the first kauhale, really, the first tiny homes out of necessity because the Ohana Zones bill was not signed by the governor. That is why the GIS and the fundings we receive to our nonprofits cannot be overlooked, because at times of disaster, when there is no session, they come through for us. When the community did not get answers fast enough, the community, from officials, the community held internet sessions abuzz with the Hawaii Tracker. They told us where it was dangerous, they told us where the evacuations were, and it is this kind of community getting together, the nonprofits, the volunteers that provided temporary shelter, food, and guidance that I am so most grateful for. And to all those who donated and helped 2018, you are not forgotten. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further announcements, Senator Inouye.
Thank you, Mr. President. On a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Yes, I'd like to share with you and congratulate Waikea High School students Taylor Aburaman, Paul Brilhante, Madison Manguso, Gavin Nishida, Jaleh Picard Cabell, Maya Poloi, and Alexander Tucson, and their AP Environmental Science teacher, Whitney Aragaki. They were selected from a pool of 300 state finalists as the Hawaii state winners of the 2023 Samsung Solve for Tomorrow STEM competition. As the Hawaii state winner, Waikea High School was awarded a prize package worth $12,000 in Samsung technology and supplies. Understanding that coral bleaching of the reefs surrounding the Hawaiian Islands is caused in part by sunscreen, this team of students is developing an environmentally friendly sunscreen that can be produced locally with natural ingredients that will also reduce pollution. We'd like to at least the Senate congratulates Waikea High School for their accomplishments and their success in using STEM education to improve the future of our Hawaii communities. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further announcements. Senator Kidani? Oh, Senator Awa.
The rivalry between Kahuku Red Raiders and Farrington Governors has been going on forever. So I wasn't surprised this session when myself and the senator from Kalihi got into a disagreement over one of the bills. We're never going to agree about chickens, but one thing we do agree on.
So, Senator Awa, you are rising on a point of personal privilege.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Proceed.
Next year I'll be good. Freshman, I use that one. So real quick, if you can bear with me, for the biggest fan in the state senate, Iam Tongi is in the top 8, and he shot this message. Let's see if I can get the audio on. Oops. Hang on, guys, sorry.
Aloha, this is Iam Tongi. I want to dedicate this song to Donna Kim and the Hawaii Senate.
I'll let it run for a minute.
Wind's gonna blow, so I'm gonna go down on the road again. Starting where the mountains left me, I'm up where I began. Where I would go, the wind only knows. Good times around the bend. I get in my car, I'm going too far, never coming back again.
So he shot that for us, and then today I got a call from American Idol's producers. If he makes it to the top 3, we'll know on the 14th, Sunday the 14th. If he makes it top 3, and all you guys should vote. They're gonna fly back over here. We're gonna hold a concert on the 16th and a parade in Kahuku. We're trying to find a venue. I'll let you guys all know the details. We'll send it out. But we really hope he gets to the top 3 because he's been representing, as you know, Senator Kim, not just Kahuku, but the state of Hawaii. Aloha.
First, Senator McKelvey, now this bipartisanship is springing up all over the place today. Further announcements, Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Colleagues, today it is my pleasure to recognize an outstanding individual who has dedicated many years serving our Senate, his community, and the people of Hawaii, Jacob Aki. Jacob has been an exceptional leader and contributor to the Hawaii State Senate. He has been committed to uplifting our culture, his community, and his commitment is evident in his educational background and professional career. He is a graduate of Kamehameha Schools and holds a BA in Hawaiian Studies from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. He also received an MA in Political Management from George Washington University, where he honed his leadership skills. Jacob joined our Hawaii State Legislature as a legislative staffer in 2016 and has been an integral part of the Senate ever since. He has served as the Communications Director for the Hawaii State Senate, demonstrating tremendous leadership and communication prowess, particularly throughout the challenges of the pandemic. Under his direction, the communications team established impactful digital media efforts to elevate the public platforms of the Hawaii State Senate, as well as our senators. Jacob has been a key figure in communicating legislative initiatives and policy issues, and his work has been vital to the success of the Senate. In addition to his work at the legislature, Jacob has also been an active leader in the Native Hawaiian community, holding various positions in organizations and on boards dedicated to perpetuating Hawaiian culture and supporting the Hawaiian community. He is a former member of the Kalihipalama Neighborhood Board and former director of the Kamehameha Schools Alumni Association for the Oahu region. Jacob is a board member of Ahahui Olelo Hawaii, a member of Pakui Alua, and a member of the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs and Hale Ona Ali'i o Hawaii. He also serves as president of Keone o Kahuhiheva, the Oahu Council Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs, and holds the position of Ikuha'i, president for Halau o Wahihika Ahu'ula, a benevolent royal society founded by King David Kalakaua. On behalf of the Senate, I extend my sincere mahalo to Jacob Aki for his profound commitment to community, his exemplary contributions to the Hawaii State Senate, and his dedication to perpetuating Hawaiian culture and supporting the Hawaiian community. We are proud to honor and recognize Jacob for his outstanding leadership and contributions to our great state, and we wish him great success in his future endeavors. Mahalo.
Thank you. Do we have any further announcements? If not, in the closing remarks, it was a year ago that I stood here and said for the first time ever we were able to accomplish everything I talked about on opening day and then some. This year, I indicated that we would be welcoming 6 new members to our chamber. We would be losing 90 years of legislative experience through retirements. We would be working with a new governor and 18 new members of the House and many new chairs, and that finding our way through these relationships would provide its own challenges like any new relationship that you undertake. With the governor, we took our advise and consent role seriously, and when we found nominees that we thought could not stand up to the standard we set, we indicated that by voting no. And there were 3 of those instances. But everyone was given more than one opportunity to appear before the respective committees and to show that they would eventually have the ability to succeed. Several who had tough starts were able to utilize the opportunity to get better, work on their communication and their relationship with the committee chairs, and ultimately won confirmation to the jobs that they now are fulfilling. And so to the members, I commend you for taking the job seriously, not worrying about what public opinion or the press was saying about what was happening, but continue to go about doing your job. As we've gone through conference, there are certain bills that I wish maybe had passed, but with the new people on both sides, we could not come to an agreement. And I look at it as a first step in building a better relationship, having a better understanding, so that we can come back and be more successful next year. But when I look at what we passed, wow, Senator San Buenaventura has mentioned SB 1. There was much made during the interim that the Obrero decision was going to result in a crime wave upon our community. Fortunately, that did not happen, but we also said we'd come back and put a fix to it right away, which with the leadership of Senator Rhodes, we did. And with the surplus, we had Senator De La Cruz, Senator Keith Agaran, the members of Ways and Means and the staff did a tremendous job. And people somehow wanted to create division, because I guess that sells more media. But when you look at the budget crafted by the Ways and Means Chair and the committee that the Senate unanimously approved today, there are so many elements of what the governor talked about in his State of the State that we truly came together to work on the best product for the people of Hawaii. And we weren't here arguing about personalities, and we weren't getting offended if something didn't work our way earlier. Instead, we found, where do we agree, how do we go forward? Key area, and the speaker and I had been clear from the beginning, is that we were not very excited about overhauling the tax system, which may have required those that we wanted to help to keep detailed records, to file to get the money back, but we were looking for mechanisms that would be simpler and that would ensure that the Alice community that we were trying to help would get the money into their pockets. And with what Senator De La Cruz and the Ways and Means staff has put together, we have met that challenge. The Lieutenant Governor at the beginning said she was tackling universal pre-K. There has been tremendous progress made in that area, including the exciting announcement of the scholarships to try and make sure that we have the employees to staff the classrooms and the seats that we are building. Tremendous investment in homelessness. Senator San Buenaventura again talked about the mental health services, affordable housing, and everything else. And I'm the person standing between you and lunch. So in conclusion, The one thing I didn't talk about on opening day that I have talked about in the past was looking forward to the opportunity to be a grandfather. And so I am so thrilled to be before you today to let you know that within the past week, I have now been able, or I'm now able to stand before you as Papa Kochi. We have a new grandson in our family, and when I hit the gavel, I'm excited to return back to Kauai and spend some time with my grandson. Do we have any further announcements? If not, Senator Wakai. Oh, we are ready to adjourn sine die. Senator Wakai.
Congratulations, Papa Kochi. And let's do it all again in 8 months. I move that the Senate of the 32nd Legislature regular session of 2023 adjourns sine die.
Senator Decoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate of the 32nd Legislature regular session of 2023 adjourns sine die.